Because you started from the bottom.
Yeah,
from
so
cancer
where you
flat.
are now is not where you this you know you don't end where you start, and there's so many different steps and everything. Like if it seems so far away, yeah, the way I break things down backwards,
Let's
right?
go.
So I basically imagine things, I visualize it, I write it down, and then I work backwards in small incremental steps. So I said, this could be the goal, but there'll be 100 little goals between this and that goal.
Yeah.
And these little goals are very easy to achieve. So you do a little celebration. Don't get complacent at them though. Little celebrate, move on. Celebrate, move on. But as I said to you, look, the top of each mountain is the bottom of another mountain.
Yes.
So when you climb to the top of the mountain, you see another mountain. That's your next. Then once you're in that mindset, you will keep growing.
So Ketan, good to have you on the Wealth and Business podcast. I met you literally about a year ago, and I was inspired by how you look so good, how you basically have kept your body. You're just about 50 now, and that opened up a door to a conversation around wealth, around what you do, around your successes you've had, founding the Buckingham Futures, organization, which is one of the leading, recruitment agencies, where you're based, and we talked about your story, even the rough beginning, how you've basically gone from nothing into building something so powerful. So for those who don't know you, who are you first of all, and what was your mindset in this transition?
So I'm Ketan Dattani, owner and founder of Buckingham Futures, which is UK's leading environmental health consultant. So we specialize in a niche. What was my mindset? My mindset has changed so many times throughout my life, really. I was of the mindset. So from a young, in terms of wealth mindset, I wasn't around that. And where I grew up, I used to always think of wealth as for other people, not for me.
Yeah.
So I used to see people with nice houses, nice cars, nice clothes, but on my council estate, no one really had these kind of things. And so it wasn't around me. And even with my parents, so the stereotype is of Indian families, education and wealth and stuff like that. I didn't come from that. I came, we grew up on the council estate. We were the only Asian family on that council estate. And in the 70s, it was difficult being the only Asian family on the council estate. But my parents used to, like money was, I used to just see them working hard all the time. But we still never had the things that other people used to have.
Yeah.
So, and my parents used to drum into me, get educated, get a good job, get educated, get a good job. So that was my initial mindset, right?
Yeah.
Then when I turned early adolescence, 11, 12, 13, just got mixed up in some silly stuff and fell off the academic path. It got so bad that, they had a truancy officer assigned to me, and I just kind of went down the wrong route, completely the opposite of what my parents were expecting for me, right? But it's this time. So I had a passion for the environment, and I believe that wealth and passion are actually, if you work on your passion, wealth will come, right? If you go looking for money or you chase money, it will always elude you. But if you're actually adding value, money will come to you. So anyway, it's kind of long story short. I had a passion for the environment, having failed miserably in the academic system, school system. It was my love for the environment that got me back into the academic system. At sort of late teens, got back into sort of the GCSE, the UK academic system, and pursued that. Realized, so then I graduated, got a degree as an environmental biotechnologist, bachelor's degree, went and worked in a laboratory for a year as a trainee medical microbiologist, and I was at a loss. I was like, there's got to be more to life than this. I'm living the life that far beyond anyone's expectations, even my own, right? I'm a graduate, I'm in a laboratory, rather than just, selling them, whatever on the on the road, right? But it wasn't fulfilling me. So I thought I need to get more educated, because I'm around these scientists and stuff, and they're not inspiring me. And this is very repetitive and very mundane. So I actually went back to uni, did a master's degree in environmental planning and management. after that, just struggled to find a role. I really, really struggled, and it came out with a master's degree. There just was no opportunities, because the opportunities that were there, like, in all honesty, were for people with English sounding names. Because I even done an experiment, sent my CV, changed my name. Instead of Ketan Dattani, I changed same companies. I called myself Keith Draper. Got lots of interviews. So because I thought, why are there no jobs out here? But it wasn't really, there's no jobs. There was no jobs for me.
You know, quite a very interesting topic you just said there. I'm a first generation immigrant. Came to the UK just about 20 years now. I've been here. And a lot of people say to me, is Daniel Moses really your true name? I'm like, yes, my father's name is Moses. My name is Daniel. But obviously I've got a native name, you know, but when I came into this country, that's when I changed my name. You know, I took out my native name, which is Eru. Eru means prayer. So I took that out and just adapted my two strongest names. So Daniel is quite a very inspirational guy in the Bible, in the Holy Book. And Daniel was very, very motivated by God. Moses, he parted the Red Sea, very godly man. That's my father's name. You know, there's a lot of history to that. I said, you know what, I'll take my father's first name. I'll take my actual first name. And the name Dr. Daniel Moses, you know, came from the inspiration for the fact that it wasn't because, you know, there was this, you know, stereotyping of who I am and where I'm from, being Nigeria.
No, you
But
kept your name. You didn't.
I kept my name. But the truth is, a lot of people today, all right, the moment you answer Oluwa Tobi, Oluwa Mayowa, the fact is, the chance of getting that job sometimes, or the chances of even
now,
getting a you know credit application sometimes isn't even an issue. Most times people see my name without my face, they think I'm white.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I want to really go into that topic because people still say there is no racism in England. There is no job scarcity because of the name that you bear. But actually, that's incorrect. There
I mean,
is
we're
a
going
lot.
back to the 90s, but no, things haven't really changed. It's just a lot more covert now, a lot more. Whereas it
People
was
are being
out
more
open.
careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, racism has changed a lot in the last 49 years, right? For me, first it was straight up violence. You used to go on the bus, people used to spit at you as a kid, spit at your mom. Do you know what I mean? When you go shopping, people, the windows used to got broken in our house. Dog shit would be put for a letterbox. As time went on, it was like, oh, you're right, you know, but it's the rest of them sort of thing, right? So they kind of embrace you as an individual, but then they become become over familiar. So be like, who's, you know, like, oh, let's go down a package shop or whatever. But I'm standing there. Do you know what I mean? And for me, these kind of things are offensive. Then through college as well and uni, you know, like, the environmental sector is not very diverse. It's one of the least diverse sectors in the UK, right? It's just something I'm actually trying to change. Certainly at decision maker level, there's nobody that there were very few, less than maybe 2%. I mean, it's less than 4% of the sector that's non-white, but at decision maker level, it's less than 2%. And my thing is that how can you serve communities if you don't understand, if you're not from these communities?
Yes.
But I digress slightly. So racism has just changed. And at uni, I noticed that, you know, in terms of the environmental courses, like the uni demographics very mixed, right? The whole university. But when you come to certain courses, it's predominantly white. So now it's a two-way thing as well. Like, you know, maybe Black and Asian people are not pushing their children into environmental careers. Maybe it's saying doing business, do accounts, do medicine. Do you know what I mean? So it's a two-way thing. But people are not looking at it as a potential career option, right? But when I graduated, it's the Keith Draper name actually came about when I was doing my master's, in all honesty, because when I was looking for information as part of my thesis, it was my course coordinator that said to me, "Why don't you use a more English sounding name?" And I've kept the same initials, Keith Draper. So then I KD, but I've never used that in apart from for information for my thesis, and just to see to myself about a year after that, why am I not getting any applications? I've got a master's degree, right?
Yeah.
These are not even graduate roles. Some of them just require A levels. Why am I not being called for interview?
This episode of the Wealth and Business Podcast is brought to you by our partner and sponsor, Ramsey and White. Ramsey and White is an award-winning specialist intermediary covering property, finance, wealth management, and estate agency. The Ramsey and White team can help you secure or source funding for your buy-to-lets, your HMOs, your commercial development, holiday lets, portfolio acquisition. They also offer financial reviews covering pension and investment. Not restricted by lenders or locations, the team at Ramsey and White will help you build momentum covering or growing your investment portfolio. Feel free to contact Ramsey and White, who is our partner and our sponsor for this episode of the Wealth and Business Podcast. The links to contacting Ramsey and White will be somewhere around the show notes. Make sure to reach out to them, as these individuals, this company has actually helped me build my property portfolio over the last 6 years.
So then I tried to do the same thing. And obviously this is before everything was automated. So they didn't even clock that it's the same address. We're sending that.
Similar.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, look, even last year I experienced racism. I went to a recruitment leaders event, right? And in one of the breakout sessions, so basically there was a company that were promoting outsourcing some of the work, which is something I was looking into.
Yeah.
The stereotypes are still there. So the lady, an English lady, openly said that, the people that she's using for people from India, they work UK hours, and you know how it works, right?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
But I did say, and then she said, they're based in Ahmedabad, which is quite close to where my family's home's from. So I even said that. So she knows I'm Asian.
Yeah.
Even if she wasn't, maybe she wasn't unsure. But so she knew I was Asian. And then she said, look, some of our clients, they don't like the Indian accents, and we can help, we can try and find someone else. So firstly, like, if they don't like the Indian accents, why are you working with people from India? And secondly, why are you working with these clients? Why are you allowing your clients to dictate? It's like me saying, someone applies for my job, but they can't be Chinese, Jewish, or black. You can't do that. You're looking for the best person for the role, aren't you?
Absolutely.
And if my client said, I don't want someone of this, ethnicity, or I don't want a Pakistani, whatever, I would say, I can't work with you. But they're actually encouraging this.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went on to say that Indians have a certain mindset, and they don't think with their hearts. And if you want someone with more of a heart and more of an open relationship with your consultant, then we also have a team in Philippines. Needless to say, at this point, I said, I'm out of here. I actually, not only did I leave that breakout room, I've left that group. And the thing before that, I was like so privileged. I thought, I'm in this elite group and I've made it and all this and that. But my integrity is a lot more than that. I don't need that group. I don't want to be in that situation that takes me back to my childhood. You may as well call me a bad thing and spat at me. What happened that day, right? Yeah. So it's still happening.
It's still happening, absolutely.
Very much so. So racism still.
And to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I when I first started, a lot of people said to me, "Oh, you don't want to use the word black. You don't want to use the word like ethnic minority, because then it's gonna see like, oh, you're trying to be a wealth creator for the black people, or you're trying to be a wealth creator for educating the black people." And I said, regardless, whatever it's gonna be, I don't care. But I'm so proud to be black. I'm so proud, regardless of the stigmatization that we have as a Nigerian. People say, "Oh yeah, Nigeria, there's corruption." I said, "Do you think there's no corruption here?"
It's everywhere.
Corruption is everywhere.
These are stereotypes.
All right, it's just stereotype. I said Nigeria is almost 300 million people, and the stigmatization that's come from Nigeria is only because of the less than 10% of 300 million people. Nigeria as a nation is 5 times bigger than the UK. So, and a very small, minute population. Look at India, over 1 billion population. And then when you stereotype India, you're talking about how many times as big as the UK. The truth is that one of the reasons why...
But they should motivate you more.
Yeah.
Because if that's a stereotype, actually prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
it was
fine.
Actually... So this is something that the head of science at the college I went to, Dr. Theo Konje, he's a guy from Ghana. He's the one who said to me, being of a minority, you're going to have to work 5 times as hard to
Not
get the same position.
actually 10 times more, not even 5.
Yeah, I was trying to play it down.
Even 100 times more.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Wealth and Business podcast. If this Wealth and Business podcast, the level of work I have had to put to get it to where it is today, the Dr. Daniel Moses brand, if it was a white behind it, if it was maybe another colorway behind it, I wouldn't probably have to do the level of hard work that I'm doing now to impart my people. But every single time I've had chat with my people, they say, "Oh yeah, we wanna do it, but we just don't think it's for us." I'm a wealth creator strategist. I'm a coach and mentor within a space, trying to help people get onto wealth creation. The fact is, a lot of people said to me still today, getting into the property ladder and building wealth through property is hard more for black people. I'm like, no, it's not. So we can literally go into this
No,
today.
it could be harder, definitely, because there's a lot. Like it's a cultural thing as well, right? So, being from an Indian background and growing up in a council estate, I had extended family in Leicester, right? For example, that had properties and stuff. Like they owned properties, right? So that was kind of the thing to do. But they don't own more. They don't use it as a wealth thing. But they like to own the house they live in.
Yeah, just
right?
own it, yeah.
And that's it. And then it's a case of like get a job and
And
progress
continue- and
progress
continue to
in the
pay-
career.
pay your
in a-
mortgage.
Yeah, pay your mortgage, and basically we look forward to your 2 weeks annual leave, go in there, and that was the kind of thing, right? But so I was aware that it could be done, right? But sometimes when you're not surrounded by in my immediate area, because everyone's from council background, and they're waking up in the morning, they're having beers or they're smoking weed, and every 2 weeks collecting benefits. So if I was just around these people all the time, you don't see, you have to go beyond what you see to kind of see what's really, because it almost seems alien. You can see people doing things, but you think, well, that's not my world. That's not for me. So as a young person, it's very difficult. And I get where maybe they're saying for, but you're leading the way and you're showing them, look, not am I just a young person or a black young person, but as someone who's actually not even born in this country. So you have that advantage of being through the school system and being born in this country. So if I could do it, certainly you can. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you're showing them by example and actual progress that you've made.
We were having a conversation just now off camera, and you started to kind of even deep into your background, basically growing up, council estate, the violence, the drugs, and all these different things that was proper negative that could have stopped you from becoming the inspirational guy that you are. I mean, you've gone from literally someone from nothing into someone who has been able to build a sustainable, environmental friendly job opportunities for people in your community, outside of your community, and obviously impart
The whole of the UK.
the whole of the UK nationally
And
not
internationally now.
internationally. And you even spoke about doing something in Nigeria. And you're also someone who is known to be a profound industry leader, with a massive passion to nature, and someone who is also making a massive social impact. Your environment had every reason to literally stop you from becoming the leader that you are today. So the reason why I had to basically draw back to this, because I know we kind of started in a way where we've given so much value at the beginning of this podcast episode, but how has your small mindset in the beginning stage of your journey allowed you to basically create the impact that you're currently making that has made you the industry leader that you are?
There's quite a few questions in there, and it's quite profound. I mean, I heard the podcast by Steve Jobs, and one thing that really resonated with me is that the you can only join the dots looking back. You can't join them looking forward, right? So there was a lot. Look, I was passionate about the environment without knowing it, because in the 70s and 80s it wasn't called the environment.
Yeah.
And truth be said, look, as I said, I mean, I alluded to you earlier, like I wasn't, school wasn't for me. I had a lot of racism in school from students, from the teachers. Even the teachers used to speak really slowly to me and ask if I understood and stuff like that, right? So, and then I found out how much a teacher earns, and I'm thinking I'm earning more than that, and I'm 17, right? but it's a different way of earning, right? So I was basically, so I'd leave my house in the morning, right? The only places that were open is the library. So every library, most of South London I've been to, till about 12, I go library. I leave my house like I'm going to school, go library, go straight to the adult section and read about ecology, biosystems, biodiversity, all the things that interest me. Come midday, when the fiends are waking up, I'm back in the hood doing what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then I come home from school like normal, allegedly, right? So that's why the passion came about. Truth be said, I got into a bit of a situation where I ended up having to do some work with the probation service. And I discovered through my love of nature, which actually stemmed back from the Midlands when I spent summers in Coventry with my grandparents, but I discovered a colony of great crested newts. It's an amphibian and it's an endangered species.
Wow.
So I said to my probation officer that we can't work here. This is an endangered species. He didn't believe me. And he thought I was trying to get out the hours that I had to do at the time. And so I went to Plumstead Library. So I told them, look,
Plumstead, round the corner.
yeah. So I said to them, because they used to have a museum upstairs. So I said, I've discovered a colony of great crested newts. Next day, I've come to do this work now. Probation officer says it's off because I told the library, because it's an endangered species, all the work stopped there. I still had to do, like, I had to go and pay a church and stuff, but... So I wasn't trying to get out of it. This is what I'm saying. He thought I was trying to get out of the work. Anyway, so that time now reignited my passion, because look, I know what this endangered species, and if I'm going to do something with my life, I just saw everyone older than me who I used to aspire to or really look up to were sort of being incarcerated or doing. It's just getting. It was a spiral that I couldn't see a way out of. This is when I met Dr. Theo Kronje, the Ghanaian gentleman I told you about.
Yeah.
He changed my life, really and truly. So I went to Hendon College, said I want to do GCSEs. They said, where's your like retakes in a year? They said, where are your GCSE certificates? I said, I've never sat them. They said, you can't do retakes. You have to do them over 2 years. I'm like, I should have done it 3 years ago, and you're telling me I have to wait another 2 years just to get GCSEs. Plus, I've missed all of this school, yeah? Then went back the next day, and they said, you can't do it in a year because you've got this a retake.
Yeah.
You can't sit an exam if you haven't done the original exam.
Yeah.
The third day I came back now, Dr. Theo Kronje was there on the table, and I said, please, sir, like, I just need this opportunity. So I'll give you this opportunity. And he's the one who let me sit the GCSEs, do my GCSEs, then went on to the science A levels. And then it was him that encouraged me to go to university, because it was a big word. And I don't really know anyone who'd been to university, apart from there was one GP on our council estate, but he'd go home at night, right? He didn't live there.
Wow.
So I didn't know anyone who'd have a degree. It was an alien world to me.
Wow.
You know, these times I had gold teeth, and I've gone into uni on my first semester. I wasn't even smiling. I used to talk like this. So, but yeah, it was him that encouraged me to go to university. And my passion was the environment. So I did the environmental biotechnology degree. And I thank Theo to this day. He's like my uncle. And that was opened up so many doors. That pushed me into working in the laboratory. That pushed me to thinking this is not for me. That pushed me into going to do my master's degree.
Wow.
That pushed me into thinking that, okay, there's so many people out there with qualifications that in the same situation as me and are not being able to fulfill the thing. So that's how Buckingham Futures was born, right? I've been in sector for 25 years, and 9 years ago I set up on my own. So I've been in this sector for 25 years, bridging the gap between employers and environmental professionals.
Wow. I'm just so fascinated by a few things that you said there, because I went to university as well. I studied sociology and anthropology at University of Benin, Edo State, Nigeria. And it fascinates me that actually I never heard about the word mentorship whilst I was in uni.
No.
I never heard about the word personal development whilst I was in university.
I never teach you that.
And whilst I went through school, I came to the UK. All right. Like I said, I've lived here for almost 20 years. And I never still heard about the word mentorship. I never still heard about the word self-development, personal development. When I first came to this country, I was accustomed to my community. So the only people I was friends with were people who were from Nigeria, from Edo State.
Yeah, you'd naturally gravitate.
And that was it. But I'm coming to this because I want to talk about environment. environment is into two different words, right? So environment is, your environment, making it friendly, making it healthy, making it, otherwise. And as well as environment can also create an impact for wealth creation. Who are you associated to? Who is in
Totally.
your community? Who are your network? Association is key. So I'm very careful who I associate myself with these days. But I never heard about all these words, mentor, I never knew about self-development. So 2012, I relocated back to Nigeria, and then 2015, between 2012, I grew a business, and 2015, that business failed. Not for my own fault, but for
The
the fact
economy.
that, yeah, economy, bad roads, and all of these different things. Two of my trucks went into fire. They literally fell into the valley and burst into flame, and I lost over 150,000 pounds. I went through depression and anxiety. Now, what changed for me was education. And you just said, in your environment that you are, you never knew someone who was in uni, someone who was studying.
I'm the first graduate in my whole family, like from England, from the British born cousins and stuff. Yeah, I didn't. I not in my neighborhood. No, I didn't know anyone. Like no one even went to college, let alone it was straight away like either working of. Look, the most aspirational people in my peer group wanted to work in a factory. Rest of them wanted to be like their dads and granddads and uncles and be on benefits and do other stuff which quick cash. But that's rich for a while, then poor for a very long while, then rich for a while, and then you're always looking over your back, right? That kind of lifestyle. So yeah, if it wasn't for Dr. Freya Kronji, I don't know if I would have pursued that. I mean, that having a degree doesn't actually. I don't think it's a mark of intelligence. Just despite the fact that I have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree,
Yeah.
and a postgraduate diploma in employment law, I don't think that's a mark of. There's people that I know are far more intelligent than me, but
But
it
that
just
opened up your mindset.
absolutely,
It opened up
definitely,
who you've become.
yeah, it did. But
You
there are
know,
people more intelligent than me that's still in the hood. Definitely, like I when we were talking as youngsters, they weren't more intelligent than me at that time, but then they as you said, the environment stayed the same, so they couldn't grow beyond that. And now they're approaching 50. This it's very difficult to come out of that, isn't it?
I had an interesting conversation. You're 50 now, right? And I spoke about
49, man. Let's keep it to the 40s for now.
so, and I just at the beginning of this episode, I actually said your age and how you look, was one of the. I literally approached you and I said, you look good, mate," and
Yeah.
how you were, and we started to speak, and then the age thing came through, and I'm like, "How do you look this good at the age that you're in?" I mean, I'm 43 now. I'm gonna be 43 in a week.
You look 28.
And I wanted to have that interesting conversation, and that opened up the conversation about your achievements, what you've done in business and otherwise. And obviously in out here Property Wealth, and so on the Wealth and Business podcast. So Property Wealth is my company, so obviously this is part of a collaboration with Property Wealth Education. So with Wealth and Business podcast, it's all about having that conversation about the transitioning of the ordinary to the extraordinary. What's your story, who you are, and how did it begin? And just basically touching base with that, showing someone who's listening right now, for those of you who are listening to the podcast and saying, "Oh, I can't do it. It's not for me. It's for Asian people. It's for white people. That would never happen to you." And this lead me to a great book that I read, which calls "That Will Never Work."
Yeah.
It's a story told by the founder of Netflix.
Yeah.
Because everybody he met said to him, "That would never work. That would never work. That would never work." And today, Netflix, people can't live without Netflix.
No way.
So, bringing me very quickly back, you said, you never met these people, and you basically now becoming one of the, first graduate in your family, the most successful in your community, in your environment, helping anyone transition and helping people, bridge that sort of employability and all of the skills. So for me, again, similar. Personal development is something that I wasn't used to. Mentorship, I never heard. But here we are on the Wealth and Business podcast trying to tell people that actually, yes, you can become
Absolutely.
whatsoever.
People really are probably fulfilling 5% of their potential. Everyone is. And even when I'm pushing myself and I'm trying to be the best version of myself and I'm growing in all areas, not just financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. Yeah, I'm growing on all areas. I mean, it all interlinks anyhow, right? But when I'm doing everything that I never thought possible, but now I'm here. I'm at you've got the analogy I always use, at the top of a mountain is the bottom of another. So you've got to be,
On top of a mountain
is always the top of a mountain is always the bottom of another mountain, right?
wow.
And I'm nowhere near peaking, bro. Like really, I'm not. I'm not peaked. I'm not peaking. I'm a student of life, and I'm just always trying to better myself. So when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, my competition is the guy that's looking at me. Because tomorrow I'll be better than the guy that I'm seeing now. Small incremental gains. Every day I will improve. I will read. I will exercise. I will eat the right foods, and every day I'm improving, and I'm competing with myself constantly to be the best version. But I will never be that best version because there's always going to be more. Do you get it?
Yeah. Wow. So much gems dropped already. So much gems. Now, let's talk about wealth creation. And actually, before we even talk about wealth creation, you have been featured on so many business articles, and if I was to name them, I can't even name them. And when I was doing a really real research on you, I saw that South Bank University's interviewed you. When I was thinking about you and just to kind of find out about you, I found out that, you are a multiple award winner. And when I was checking about you, you are so strong on diversity, on equity and inclusion, and where do I even start from? Yet you're the guy from the council estate.
Yeah, but
What
it's not
what
always
what
been this way. So there has been a lot of pivotal moments. So the first moment, I'd say the real sort of game changer was meeting Dr. Fiocronje. And I haven't, there was a time I was actually banned from the college as well, and he's the one who kept me on. So I wasn't allowed to use the library or stuff like that. Again, I was just kept on getting caught up in silliness. So I couldn't like shake that council estate mentality, right? And Dr. Theo Conje kept me on the safe, the straight path. He used to come and find me around the college when I'm supposed to be in lessons and stuff like that, right? He went above and beyond to help me. So that was the first pivotal moment. Second pivotal moment is actually open up my mindset to a wider world when I got to uni, right? Because these are people from all over the world, all different ethnicity, all different backgrounds, and I wasn't used to that. So I just felt I didn't fit in. And that was a barrier that I put up the first semester at uni, because I'm like, nobody's here gets me. Nobody really knows what, and I just kind of put a barrier up, and I became a loner, and I was just straight after lessons going back to the hood, started skipping lessons. It was a bus ride back into the ends, and I was there, but I wasn't really there. And then second semester, I just thought, look, I'm here now. I've somehow passed the first semester. I might as well just ride this out, man, get a degree, right? That was my mindset. So that's when things changed. Then another change happened. Do you know when WhatsApp started?
it's,
Yeah.
it's insane. It's not even WhatsApp is not even up to 15 years old.
Yeah, but
and it's gone viral right now.
Yeah, no, but this is what was the biggest change in my life. So now I'm already a person I never thought I'd be. I thought, like, from the outside I'm living the life, house, wife, kids, but WhatsApp started, and it was a Tuesday. Yeah, my wife sent me a video of my second. I got 4 kids, right?
Yeah.
But I had 2 at the time. My second son was crawling, and she sent me a video on WhatsApp, and it was a Tuesday, and I already was feeling like I was a weekend dad. I was leaving my house in the morning to work in the city. Kids were sleeping. I'd get back at night. They would be sleeping, right? So I never saw them awake until Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was missing out on my children growing up. And I was thinking, why am I doing all of this? And then, earning money, but the mindset changed. So again, all of this has come sort of by accident, really. I'm an
Yep.
accident entrepreneur. So I then decided, right, I don't want to do this. So I approached my employers. I said, can I reduce my hours or work from home
Yeah.
1 day a week? And this was before COVID. So they were like, no, we need you here. You're head of division. And I thought, I was kept on telling myself, you should be grateful that you're here. They're giving you this chance as an Asian guy from the hood, and you're head of division. And so I was like, oh, you should be grateful. You should be grateful. But something in me decided, right, this is how much, and I just bought 2 properties then. The one I was living in, and I bought another one for my parents. So I had 2 mortgages coming out. To walk away from a really good job, very well paid, started fresh in the box room at my mum and dad's house, and everyone apart from my mum was saying, no, don't do it. Even my dad was like, why would you do that? You got a nice white employer. They made you a supervisor. You're doing really well. Why would you do that? Right? So that was a pivotal moment. Anyway, so 6 months now, I'd learned about how to register a business bank account, business insurances, what I need, because I didn't know all this. So 6 months I'm planning, and also stopped spending. I'm thinking, right, so I need to cover these 2 mortgages at the very least. Sold my car, put my name as a second driver, my wife's car, my dad's car if I needed a car. Started walking everywhere, cycling everywhere, and basically just put my head down, just save. And
So you're the guy who saved his way to wealth.
yeah. And then again, so there's another, it's just, so then I started this business now with the mindset, I'm going to wait till the 2 kids are a bit older, go back and work for someone. But at least I can cover my bills in the meantime, doing this recruitment from home or my parents' house, right? And it just started growing and growing and growing, and I had to employ people, and it just, so accidentally, we became UK's leader in what we do. Now, money's always just sitting in the bank account. So about 3 years ago, so all this time I've only got the same 2 properties. Last 3 years, I started like buying buy-to-lets. And that's, again, well, because I was scared. I'm thinking, well, it's sitting there, but I was sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
So then I started to buy buy-to-lets. And, in a short period of time, I've amassed a small portfolio. And I'm always looking to now do that. Rather than it sitting there, I'm making my money work for me.
Absolutely.
Rather than me working for the money. And my main my main thing is the environmental health consultancy. But that then allows me to live the life I do the philanthropic work with young people. I'm building a well in Uganda, which is where my family are from.
My wife is from Uganda, by the way.
Is it really?
Yes.
I'm building a well there this year for my 50th.
Wow.
Yeah, Komoli. That's my mom and dad are from. So they came in 1972. I don't know if you know about the story about the Asians in Uganda. Do you know that?
Yeah, I heard about that. Obviously, India Army of Uganda during
The
the war.
absolutely.
And they sent everyone
1972, and then I was born 1973.
Wow.
But I didn't know your wife was Ugandan.
Yeah, she's from Uganda. She's
Oh, wow.
from Gulu.
Okay.
And I speak a little bit of it.
Swahili.
No, she speaks Gulu, so I speak
Okay.
a little bit of Gulu.
Okay.
You know, a little bit. I learnt about
my parents speak Swahili.
like Kobongo,
Yeah.
Kupe, and all
Have you
of
been
that.
Uganda?
Never been, but
I'm going first year in June. First time in June. Okay.
First time in June.
Yeah.
I'll try and see if that can work.
So
and-
I'm going to
and I'll
coincide with the
probably
opening of the well.
Wow.
So there's 2 phases. So this year we're going. It's going to be mechanical. Sorry, it's going to be hand pump, because there's maternity wards that they need to bring pipes out to, and that will be 2024. Then I'll go again. But sorry, I digress. So from Uganda, what was we talking about?
You know what? I really love how we went to Uganda and all of that. Just to kind of again tell us, how the mindset.
Oh yeah, the mindset, yeah.
And
so
how the
basically,
and
then now the property thing, and I'm sure different things will come, because I'm now starting to do a little bit of stocks and stuff like that. So I'm a student of life, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel like I've come into this very late. Like there's people in their teens, 20s doing this thing.
Yeah.
And in
But
fact,
it was again due to the fact of what we've become accustomed to,
Yeah.
what we've become used to, And whilst you actually have that conversation with myself, something really made a lot of sense, because I always saw that you basically remember where you started,
never
because you
forget.
kept going back to Dr. Kunji, and you kept going back to Dr. Krunje, and a lot of people that never remember where they started. When they get to the top, they forget where they start. And this is why I will tell my Uber story 1,001 times. I will tell my
never forget
immigration
that.
story 1,001 times. I will give the story about, because you have to remember where you started, because a lot of people don't remember where they started from, and that's why they become like quite egoistic, thinking
Yeah,
they're
the
above
bubble will
everyone else.
burst. There's a phrase in my language, Gujarati, that "for full in there." Basically, if a balloon is too blown up, it will burst, right? But at the same time, it's good to use that as motivation for yourself to look where I've come from, but it's also good to inspire other people who are in the same situation now.
Yeah.
But you don't want to spend too much time reminiscing with rose-tinted glasses of how it was, because you just look back over your shoulder, see where you come from. That will be that's your motivation. And if someone's in that situation, show them the story or show them the path. You can only leave the door ajar. You can't bring everyone through, right? So it's up to them now if they want to take if you leave the door ajar, when you're open, you go into different things and different opportunities. You can only show people the way, right?
Yeah.
You can't make them do that if they're not ready. But at the same time, so there are so many opportunities that once you have that mindset, you see them, and you would have walked past them before, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be aware of these opportunities.
Wow. Wow. So now let's not talk about the success and the journey now. For those who are listening right now and saying, okay, a lot of things said, you know, I am at the bottom. This will never work with like the story I talked about. With the Netflix situation. Oh, this will never work. Yeah, it's all well and good for Dr. Daniel Moses and Ketan. They're talking about all these things. Oh, it's not for me. What message would you have for them? Because you started from the bottom,
Yeah.
from
So
council
where you
flat.
are now is not where you. There's this. You don't end where you start, and there's so many different steps and everything. Like if it seems so far away, yeah. The way I break things down backwards.
Let's
Right?
go.
So I basically imagine things, I visualize it, I write it down, and then I work backwards in small incremental steps. So I said, this could be the goal, but there'll be 100 little goals between this and that goal.
Yeah.
And these little goals are very easy to achieve. So you do a little celebration. Don't get complacent at them though. Little celebrate, move on. Celebrate, move on. But as I said to you, look, top of each mountain is the bottom of another mountain.
Yes.
So when you climb to the top of the mountain, you see another mountain.
Mm-hmm.
That's your next. Then once you're in that mindset, you will keep growing. But you start small. You don't like if you're in that situation right now, don't think tomorrow you're going to be a billionaire. It won't work like that. Then if your dreams your dreams need to scare you, but they need to be realistic. You've got to set dreams that scare you. I set goals that scare me. If they don't scare me, then like I don't want to breeze through it. I want to push myself to achieve these goals. But at the same time, they've got to be realistic. So it's something that should be achievable, but I just, as I say, work backwards. So my advice I would give to someone who feels like they're in a rut, or they can't get out of that, or they're in a situation they just can't see a way out. What's the small step you can take to get out to the next step? Okay. And how long will that take? And what will that take you to do it? What will it take in terms of time, finance, mindset? So break it down, break it down, break it down. Just, like it's spend time alone and actually, write all of this down, tick these off, and actually celebrate. It's okay. And give yourself a incentive. Okay, so once I've achieved this, I will treat myself to this. Boom. Once I've achieved this, I'll treat, and it just becomes fun. And like life is fun, right?
Absolutely.
And it's just, and if you make money, you can help other people in the same situation as you. And this is just it just so nothing's impossible. It really isn't. It really, really isn't. And the beauty of England is that actually there's compared to other countries, there's fluidity. So when you're in a certain system, it's more in your mind. You can't break out of a council estate. It's not a prison, is it? The
No.
prison is in here, right? You can come out of it. There is fluidity in terms of not just ethnicity, but just wealth, like different stratas of economy.
Yeah.
And you can break into another level depending on where you live, the school that your children go to, the car you drive. You can then break into another level, and and there's so many little steps to get into the end goal, isn't there?
Absolutely.
But you must never forget where you came from, as you were saying. But you don't spend too much time there, and you've got to disassociate and walk away from some of these people that will always drag you back. They don't, because they would be doing the same thing. And if you're around there, so you got to change your friends. You got to, it's big lifestyle changes. If your friends are just smoking weed every day, you're gonna smoke weed every day with the best intentions in the world. 5 years time, you see you're still blazing. Yeah, I want to do this, I want to do, but you're still doing the same thing. So you're not really gonna do anything. You have to break away from your friends, and then when you're in a situation, you can come back and help other people. But sometimes you just have to just distance yourself. So when I was at uni, I'm still living in the same area, but I just was going uni, library, home. I didn't want to associate. I had to disassociate with what's going on in my neighborhood, because that could just drag me back very easily.
100%.
And I lived there for another 7-8 years before I was able to, come out of that environment. So even when I was working in the city and in a professional role, I'm still living in the same neighborhood. I wasn't in a situation, and I was also scared. Probably I could have jumped into the property game a lot earlier, but I'm thinking, oh yeah, this much deposit and this much mortgage, and like this fear
interest
factor,
rate.
yeah. And what if they
don't
say
pay the
they don't,
rent.
yeah, and what if the job doesn't work out, and all these things, man. you know, and now I make very quick decisions. And if I fail, I fail. So be it. Because I never
part of
really
the
fail.
process,
I
isn't
never
it?
fail. Either either I win or I learn. I don't fail. That's it. I win or I learn.
So the impact of environment is big on every single conversation that we've been having on this episode. The impact on your environment, your environment, your environment. Because for me, until my environment changed,
You can't change.
I couldn't change. Until I changed my friends. I couldn't change. Until I changed people who I was surrounded by. Until I changed who I was speaking to and who I'm listening to. I couldn't change. Now I'm friends with the likes of yourself. I'm expanding my circle. And
Absolutely.
now that I'm friends with people like yourself, people like every single one. I've interviewed billionaires in this podcast, and I'm bringing them to my community to come and speak to my community. Obviously, people are going to listen to this and people watch it as well. So they listen, they watch. All of a sudden, the people who are at the bottom, people who are at the mid, and people are all obviously here, I'm bringing this to them. But until my environment changed and I helped myself first, I couldn't have gone to help them.
Of course not.
So environment
You
is
gotta
literally
go
everything.
out to look back in. If you're in
Wow.
it, you can't see it, right? And also, never dismiss someone, because people's circumstances can change. All the people that used to dismiss me now asking me, "Can you please give work experience to my son?" or "Can you please give work experience to my daughter?" They completely should dismiss me, even in my own, especially in my own community. So never don't judge someone by the situation that they're in now, either, ever. I never do, because
Would you say hunger has also helped you in this?
hunger came about. I feel like I was just going through the motions, what's expected, societal expectations. Hunger, I'm very hungry now, but I haven't. I'm so hungry, like hungry, right? I'm just, but I haven't been this hungry before. So it's something that has to come from within. Like people can tell you, oh, you could do this, you could do that, but unless that hunger comes from within, so hunger plays a huge part. And as I say, like I set goals that scare me. That's part of the hunger, though, isn't it?
Yes.
So I set goals that actually frighten me a little bit because I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I'm hungry for success, and in all areas of my life. I wanted the best. Look, how many trillions? How many, if you sort of break it down, you're here not by chance, are you? Right? And the fact that you're here in this human existence, this is your one opportunity to do. Why you don't want to be 80 lying in a bed and thinking I could have done this. I could have. It's a very dangerous word, man. I'm doing the best I can every day.
That's the story they tell about the dash, isn't it? The story
Yeah,
about the
there's a
dash.
date where you're born, a date
Where
where
you
you
die.
expire, and it's what you make of that dash in between, isn't
Yeah.
it? And you gotta really, this is your one chance to leave a legacy.
Wow.
So the legacy, the hunger, it was all intertwined for me, and my passion about my immediate environment, surrounding myself with good people, and the beauty of it for young people now. Whereas in my days, you'd have to meet people to know about. You can read their books now. You can listen to their podcasts. You can go on YouTube. So you don't actually have to physically be around these people you can find inspirational people without actually leaving your room. You know what I mean? Where I didn't have that. And I didn't have that inspiration around me. So it's a lot easier to find inspirational people and then it expands to the wider environment and the humanity and the planet Earth. And this is what I'm
Absolutely.
passionate about.
Yeah. Wow. Ketan, it's been an absolute pleasure for you
Likewise.
traveling all the way down to Bromley here in my house.
Thank you for having me, man. It's
Just
been a real
having,
pleasure.
having this great conversation. So just before we end this podcast right now, is the journey for the extra, of the ordinary transition or transition into the extraordinary, is this still possible?
Of course. I don't think I think, look, if I look at life as, say, I don't know, I'm halfway through life, yeah? So each year is a step. So I'm at step 50. It doesn't have 50 steps. Now, what I've achieved between 40 and 50, I didn't achieve between 0 and 40. So if I can achieve that in 10 years, and now it's like a snowball. So the extraordinary, like when you ask me now, this may seem extraordinary, but I will look back on this era in 5 years, it's not extraordinary. In 10 years, 5 years ago, because everything's just going to get bigger and better.
Yeah.
I'm going to get bigger and better. With that will come wealth, wisdom, physical strength, emotional strength, mindfulness, meditation. So, and of course, there's like honestly, like the beauty of being a human. We're the only species that have this ability to actually manifest and better ourselves, but it's got to come in within, and you've got to follow that trajectory.
Wow, wow. Ketan, it's been absolutely amazing to have you on this Wealth and Business episode. So,
Thank you for
guys,
having me.
we're just so humbled to have this amazing individual travel all the way down to come and, inspire you, motivate you. Just one quick favor before we actually end this episode. I really want to kind of, plead with you guys who are our listeners. The Wealth and Business podcast is coming up to 2 years that we started this. As you can see, it's been a phenomenal improvement from day in, day out, week in, week out, you know, month in, month out, year in, year out. And our 2 years anniversary, is just around the corner. And we want you to really help us to allow this podcast to literally grow its reach, grow its audience. And I really want to say, please share these episodes, on our YouTube channels with your friends, your family, your relatives, your work colleague, everyone in your community. Please share this, because the bigger the share and the reach of these episodes are, the bigger the guest gets, and we can give you some amazing, amazing insight into that journey of the extra, the ordinary to the extraordinary. People like Keaton sharing, like, cancer flats couldn't hold him back. The mindset that he adopted whilst he built this, nationally recognized, business, and also building a property portfolio as a buy-to-let landlord and expanding his empire, his wealth, and helping, his community grow. So just sharing it will really help and do us a massive, massive favor. So please make sure you share this. And just don't forget as well, we run free masterclasses on how to get started in property, how to build your wealth, and how to literally grow your mindset. And you hear from Keaton as well. He spoke about basically your environment is everything. The moment you learn to start to grow your environment, the moment you change that environment, you take up people in your life, gradually or systematically, who are not bringing value to you or growing you, and to reach out to the ones who are growing you, then your life is going to change. So I just really want to say massive, massive thank you for
Thank you for
joining us
having
here.
me.
So how can people reach you, and what help do you provide to people who kind of you work
So
with?
I actually work with all the schools and colleges around Northwest London on a voluntary basis. I provide CV workshops, provide opportunities for students to come and work within my business just to get some work experience. But we do mock interviews. I work with a number of universities throughout the UK, specialists within the environmental health sector. But also I do local projects around where I live. So food distribution, tree planting. We run events for adults with learning difficulties. So if anyone wants to get involved in anything like this, you can find me via LinkedIn on Ketan Dattani, or on Instagram, which is Ketanova, KETANOVA, and DM me, and I certainly, would do some help with any help on the voluntary side with the food distribution or the environmental work that we do. I wanted to also take this opportunity to say to you, keep inspiring, really inspirational, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ketan, for being here in my house, and just sharing a glass of the wine or champagne, and just chilling, and just basically giving so much value back. I just want to say thank you, because obviously you took quite a journey to be here. And so, guys, in future events, one of our mission as well is to obviously bring people like Ketan to the Wealth and Business Live networking events, where you actually get to meet him, shake his hand, take pictures, and basically ask him that burning question that you learned from this episode. So obviously we're waiting and looking forward to having you on our live events, where you're going to be obviously sharing your, your experience as that entrepreneur who made the transition from the ordinary to the extraordinary to our audience. So thank you so much for listening and watching the Wealth and Business podcast. And we're looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. My name is Dr. Daniel Moses, and I'll see you soon. Take care.